Welcome to Invest Like a CEO. I'm joined by the CEO of EnergyPathways, Ben Clube, who's flown all the way here from Australia. EnergyPathways, of course, a company that helps the UK get cleaner, homegrown energy. And we'll talk about this in just a moment. But thank you very much for joining us, Ben. First of all, I want to ask you about, that pivotal point. I know you've been involved in many gas projects in your experience. Is this that pivotal point that, in your career that you knew that you wanted to head up a company like EnergyPathways?
Yeah, the pivotal moment for me was the last company I worked on. I've had many years of experience in the energy space and the oil and gas space. Was finishing up working on a company. We did a great deal, and this is in West Africa. It was nominated as the best deal in the world in 2014, which was a big investment project into a country called the Gambia, and that was a sort of a milestone for my career in terms of achieving something very successful. However, my passion was to get into the energy transition space and make the clean energy transition work with my experience.
And with all this vast experience, how has that shaped your investing style? Many people watching you, Ben, we want to know, how do you as a CEO, invest and create your own portfolio, or do you have someone to do that for you? In my investment approach, I look at growth opportunities and exceptional shareholder return, and it's kind of how I go about my career as well. I'm looking to identify great opportunities and try and build those up to generate significant value. Do you have key criteria that you stick to? So key sectors, key duration plays?
It's finding the niche opportunity, be it geography, be it energy space that is overlooked and is going to be you'd expect to be part of the future industry growth. And so much of my career is around early mover advantage, identifying the play, and then bringing investors along into the play. But in my previous experience, that's very much the track record that myself and some members of the team who've stayed with me through that process, we've identified great opportunities, built them up, and then created a lot of value.
Let's talk about MESH now, and update us on this project, because 2025 was a really busy year for you.
Yeah, no. So we've made a lot of progress this year in bringing this project forward. It's grown and it's become a major project. During the course of the year, this was recognised by the British government. Ed Miliband, the Secretary for Energy Security and Net Zero, classified the project as a project of national significance, and indeed that's indeed what it is. It's an energy storage project that can deliver across a range in the value chain in terms of driving down energy bills, energy security, and sustainability to achieve net zero outcomes.
Now, this is also a key moment for geopolitics as we know it. And of course, there's also a lot of concern that the UK doesn't have enough storage. How bad is the situation? Level with us. How bad is the situation?
Well, the situation is bad. It's very bad, and it's caused by a couple of key factors. Firstly, it's the approach to the development of renewable energy within the UK, and what that means is that essentially wind farms or wind projects are being developed, and and the supply of that wind is now very significant that it can't get into the market on many occasions. And so the cost of that wasted wind is building every year. And this last year, 2025, that cost of wasted wind reached £1.5 billion. Now, as the renewable generating capacity of the UK increases, which is what's going on with the UK's energy transition, that situation's only going to get worse. And it's going to get worse a lot faster now. And to the extent that even with the government's own forecast, by 2030, the cost of wasted renewable energy and to balance that in the grid is going to cost £8 billion a year. Now, that is the case for a key case for the UK expanding its energy storage capability.
Now, Ben, you hear about all these stories, about the risk of blackouts, often on traditional media. How real, how genuine is this risk?
Well, it's a significant risk in the UK, and it's something that last year was seen in Spain and France and Portugal, which is where you have grids dominated or significantly dominated by renewable energy. The risk of blackouts and instability in the grid increase unless measures are taken to mitigate against that. And that's where energy storage comes in again. It can play a critical role in providing grid stability to a renewables-dominated grid.
Surely this storage capacity is thrown against the cost of fuel, of importing this fuel. And currently, at the moment, it is still relatively low. Is that something that can significantly impact the industry and, of course, your company, because, this is a big risk?
So in the UK situation, the key thing to remember is that the UK's energy system still remains significantly dominated by gas as an energy source. It's around about 45% of the UK's energy sources. And that's not going to significantly change going forward. And so gas is part of the UK's energy mix going forward. The other thing to know is that gas plays a critical role in balancing the UK's grid electricity system. In that, when the wind's not blowing or the sun doesn't shine, what backs up the grid and provides the power is substantially gas-fired power generation. So gas has a critical role in the UK's energy future. Now, it just so happens since 2000, when North Sea gas production peaked, the UK is increasingly importing natural gas for its energy security. And now, or last year, that was approximately, again, about 45% of gas consumption in the UK was imported. And recently the government's issued a report flagging that there's risks of gas shortages as we go forward, as we reach the 2030s, where during peak demand periods, the UK will be importing over 90% of its gas needs. So this creates a real stress on the UK's energy system, and having secure and reliable sources of gas will be key. And again, this is where gas storage comes into the UK's future energy mix.
So just some level with our viewers here, how much capacity in terms of energy storage, does the UK realistically have right this moment, Ben?
It's got around about 20 terawatt hours of gas storage, but if you compare that relative to other countries, it has one of the lowest gas storage capacities in Europe, as well as other developed countries such as US or Japan or Korea. So the UK is starting from a position with very low levels of gas storage.
So I read somewhere that Europe has about 40 to 60 days of storage capacity. So in the UK, relative to that?
So around about 14 days at the moment, but about half of the UK's gas storage is in a gas storage facility called Rough, and the owner of Rough, Centrica, has cautioned that it may shut that down. So we're starting from a very low level, potentially at risk of going down to a state where the UK only has about 7 days of gas storage supply.
Now let's talk about mesh, because there are key dates coming up, and also recently the project was confirmed as a project of national significance. Tell us what this means.
Yeah, so this year the Ed Miliband, the Secretary of State for Energy Security and Net Zero, determined that MESH is a project of national significance. And so what that means is that the project in its future path to development runs through a specific government approvals planning process intended to bring forward important projects like MESH so that they move forward in a streamlined way.
There are, of course, things that have to be balanced here. For example, it is high, it's very expensive. So that's one risk. There's also potential delays in terms of policy. How do you de-risk this for customers and clients?
Yeah, I think you've touched on a couple of the major risks, but fundamentally, from a cost point of view, we think MESH is very cost competitive in comparison to other energy storage solutions and energy transition solutions. So the other risk you mentioned is the policy environment that we're operating in, and we're very active in working with the various arms of government to navigate and influence that government policy framework. And recently there's we've seen some developments in the policy arena, which are strongly aligned to the MESH project. So we're greatly encouraged by that, and we think the policy sort of stars are lining up very much for the MESH project, and we think our strategy is the right one for the UK.
The project also involves hydrogen. So explain, your vision of this. What is going to be the mix of the business in terms of, hydrogen, low carbon hydrogen in the future?
Yeah, so we looked at hydrogen through the lens that in the UK government's strategic plan for energy transition, they see hydrogen as being a key component of that. Decarbonising hard to abate sectors, including flexible power gen. And so we went about this looking for a hydrogen solution that was going to be cost effective and deliver value for UK consumers. And so our approach has been to identify a low-cost hydrogen production technology, which is called methane pyrolysis, that we're working in partnership with KBR, a major US industrial, and Hazer Group, the developer of the technology. And we have exclusivity to bring that technology into the UK. And what's attractive about it is its competitiveness with respect to cost. So if you compare it to green hydrogen, you're looking at the cost of hydrogen being about a third of that of green hydrogen, and we believe it's also lower cost than blue hydrogen. The other benefit, which we believe is of significance, is that the process essentially takes a methane molecule and cracks it, so it produces hydrogen, and then it produces a form of carbon. In this case, the technology produces graphite. Graphite is a critical mineral, highly valued mineral by the UK, other developed countries, and so we're offering up, in effect, the capability for the UK to produce its own graphite.
How much will all this cost, Ben? Because it's the UK's economy is not exactly powering on all cylinders at the moment, and taxpayers are feeling the pinch. What is the cost estimate, and where is that money going to come from?
Look, I think the real attraction of what we're doing is the value for money that this project brings, in that we're delivering low-cost energy solutions across the board, from energy storage, electricity storage, gas storage, and hydrogen production, such that it's a very attractive commercial proposition, and with an eye that the taxpayer, the consumer, is not putting a significant amount into this project to make it happen. So we think we're going to be very attractive to the sort of the taxpayers' point of view here, to deliver an energy project that doesn't require significant subsidy.
And Ben, give us an update finally of what milestones you're looking out for in 2026. What can investors look forward to hearing from you in the coming months?
Yeah, look, we've got a lot going on, and but some initial important milestone is the award of a gas storage license for the project, which
do we have a date?
We haven't got a date, but we're hopeful it might be very soon, and take the project forward to reach an FID type milestone within the 12 months. So we've got a lot on our plate, but it'll be a big year for the company.
Exciting stuff. I look forward to speaking to you when you get, hopefully soon, that license. Right, and that is your latest on Invest Like a CEO. Do tune in. I'll be having lots of CEOs coming on board soon. One of them, Lorena from Baird & Co. That will be sometime in February.